Says I'm live, but can I see myself? Oh, here we go. Just waiting for it to come up. Could be ropey. So maybe I'll just turn that off and go to audio. Stu should be here in a moment. Hello everybody, I hope you're okay. I am here. So, as you can see, I'm just waiting for Stu. I am not in my usual studio location. If anyone is there, oh, Dip's in. Can you hear me, Dip?
I hear sound.
Hello, mate. Can you see me at all?
Good evening. Not yet. Not yet.
Okay.
See my pretty face. And
We're live. It should be recording. There you go.
I can now. We're not live yet, are we?
Okay. No, we are. We are live. I'm not great, but you should be fantastic.
Good evening, everyone, in that case.
Good evening, everybody. Indeed, here we are live. I'm on the Holly Bobs. Got Stu here, who has had some terrible news this evening, and I think we should probably start with that story, Stu, just to lighten the mood.
Indeed.
It was a difficult day at work, made even more difficult by single-use cheap plastic bags, which unfortunately could not hold the weight of me stepping down the steps into my home
And broke with only 2 bottles of wine
which haven't made
at the moment.
2 bottles of wine. That is brutal.
One, both bottoms out. That was it. I walked back. Same 2, which strangely cost me £1.50 less.
Oh, it gave you a discount for bulk buying.
No, I think you probably ripped me off the first time.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's taken
So how you
so
been? How you been, buddy?
I've been good. I've been good. How have you been?
And it's
24-year-old from South Africa staying with us, and he was having a bit of a tough time before, and he's over here, and he's really got lockdown.
and he's studying, moving forward with life. Whereas 3 months ago he was suicidal with no hope, and everything was falling apart. So yeah, my life's been good. It's a big turnaround for the family, and having my son, who I've been living with for 24 years, living with me for the last few months has been great.
That's fantastic. I'm really pleased for you, mate. I'm just trying to limit what my computer is doing so that it can give maximum concentration to you. I sense that things are just not quite working as well as they could be or should be, and there's definitely a lag going on. So it might be that this evening you'll be sharing your screen. So can you just check to see if there's a share the screen option, please?
I certainly can.
You should have one.
Yeah. Yes.
Access.
Okay, I'm going to drop my camera because that might be better, but yours should still be live, Stu. So I'm just looking at what Dip's saying there. My internet connection is definitely not the best. How's that? Are we still streaming? This is just not making sense. I've lost you all together now.
No, I'm struck.
Screening.
Okay. There should just be down the bottom of your screen there an option that just says share screen. But don't worry, we'll make it work. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you very much for joining us today. I'm here on my holiday down in the southwest of the United Kingdom, and the sound you can hear is my brother-in-law reaching for a Guinness. He's trying to do it really quietly, which is just making things louder. But it's all good. It's all good. So, Stu, if you're still with me, I think we should.
I'm back in the game.
Fantastic. I think we should take a moment to toast Mark, who just sad news. He's left us. I believe it was either last night or today, and I think that's just really sad to
Absolutely,
to lose one of our own. So, Mark, thank you.
For anyone who's watching, I mean, I think you agree, Liam. We've built such a wonderful community over the years, whatever platform you're on or frequent, whether you're watching or not.
So
there's been a lot of reality checks along the way, haven't there, Liam? Mark unfortunately isn't the first, and as you say, it's terribly tragic to lose one of our own. Cheers to you, sir, and we're going to see it out in Mark's memory, or at least I can guarantee you I will.
Absolutely, and I know that a message that I sent today was seen by Mark's family, and I did speak about the Telegram group and that how he was talked about, remembered, and that we offer the family our full support at this time.
It's a reality check as always. The world's been a real shit show the last few years, hasn't it? And I think if you haven't had a little wobble of the head in the last couple of years, then something like this should give you that wobble, shouldn't it?
For sure. I just realised that I'm looking at a camera and toasting the camera when no one can see me because I'm audio only. So I'm toasting Mark. I'm drinking this cup
Tell
of
me,
Mark.
what time are we expecting these results?
Oh man, they could drop
That's
at
a
any
livable
time.
game, but we were 3-0 up, so I felt I was okay.
Okay.
Famous last words. I'm going to go back to being 4-3.
I mean, it is Liverpool, but who knows? Let's.
I mean, let's have a look at.
They've started to fly. Well, some stuff started to come out.
I've got about 6 screens with me here because I'm in the office. So there.
They are coming out. So, I mean, Stu, while you're looking, so much has happened over the last few months since we last had a conversation. You want to touch on Tribeca and Whaloo Minerals getting involved?
I think that all just goes in the fully funded argument, doesn't it? An argument, the biggest de-risking factor of a small miner like ourselves getting to this stage. This is the 1 in 5 that make it, and then the 1 in 2 that actually make it, and being fully funded. Look, it's am I upset? I'm all in, as you know. I've always been pretty much all in, rebalancing here and there, and so I'm massively down as far as profits go, just like everybody else is. But I do think we've found a bottom. I think the focus on the share price, I don't care about much anymore these days because I don't need to. I do think now this is what we've been waiting for, the arrival of the institutions like we saw on the BT prints, and that was telling for me. Much of that must have been through placement because we can't see too much red there, but they're here. They're underpinning our share price at 8.2, and I'm hoping we only build from here. I mean, I'm almost certain we do. I think it protected us. In hindsight, and having met Sean, having met you, having met everybody a lot of wonderful people at this last meeting, he played an absolute blinder. Look at the conditions he would have been faced with otherwise. We've seen Pure Gold, we've seen a lot of other people struggling for finance. It's not great conditions. If we didn't have such a head start, we really would have been in trouble. And I think most of us can admit we didn't see that. I, for one, hands up, I thought at the time GH was brilliant because 5% of something huge is going to pay for our capex. And when it came down to the crunch and the global PFS and the way Newcrest have played it, and the real world scenario and the bull run bubble that we all enjoyed for a while, in the cold light of day, what we're left with is the best we could have hoped for. A lot of other companies have lost the same, if not more, and are going to have to raise or go bankrupt during this period, and we won't. We're left with more of the asset, 30%, and this for me is the springboard. And obviously we can massive year of exploration next year. My God, lots of pre-funded drilling programs from the government, or 2 at least. I think that's the sweet spot. We can wait for production and the re-rate that should happen along the way, and all the milestones as Varian grows. But man, with having over-raised, if the PFS does give us that extra bit, and if the contingency doesn't come in too badly because Telf is somewhat insulated from some of those inflation costs due to their existing infrastructure and contracts, and you just think, wow. For me, the big money winners are production, obviously the block cave that obviously subsequently comes back, and if you've got a long-term scenario, the Varian, of course, that's the in the bag scenario. But the blue sky is hitting something as Scally, Ernest Giles. One of those, in the next 3 years with some cash to fund aggressive drilling, shall we say, as Newcrest has done with Varian, but 100% owned. Oh man, it's exciting from here. We're all beaten up and bruised up. This has been horrible. It's never in a million years do I think we'd be at the first place, the first price that's bought at 9p, under where Beaton was selling out at 12 and 9. unreal, but we're now a big company, and this is, to me, still the safe bet that I'm happy to be all in on. But
it really is, and I think as much as I don't like to get involved in the macro, I think it's important that people realise, and I'm sure most of the listeners and watchers and stuff, they do understand that the gold price in this is pivotal, and that the gold price changing, whilst it doesn't actually make a difference for us until we're mining the gold out of the ground, that there is this entire global thing happening that is I guess it's cause and effect, isn't it? I mean, I like to draw the line on gold, but
the funny thing is with gold, I wish I could sprout some great phrase by a famous poet here, but the fact is, actually, the downside for us is good, because if we're the one who's producing it cheaper than everybody else, then the lowest price makes us the most valuable, right?
Absolutely. Sorry, I don't know if you can see me.
1,200, that shuts down an enormous amount of supply, and we would still be 2xing. 100% profit margin on that. So in some ways, I think we're very insulated. I think the other side is we obviously, the immediate part of the macro is we need the gold price higher because we're going to have to hedge. I don't know if I'm sure most have picked up on the fact that banking finance is contingent upon having to hedge that gold price. So whether we've done so already, I'm not sure, or maybe that comes later. But if the gold price is here at 1620, or I'm not sure whether you're hedging it in Aussie dollars, whether you're hedging it in US dollars. I would have thought you're hedging in what you sell for, so US dollars. That we could well be hedging at 1,600 or 1,500. So I think that's something to take into consideration. The gold price for me is important, but in the longer term, I think we've still got 3 more years clear where it's not going to really matter, because we're going to hedge it. We're going to decide what price we're going to get for those first 2 to 3 years of production in order to satisfy the banks. So it is important. It's our main commodity, but the fact that we've got copper, the fact that the world runs out of copper starting 2025, just when we're starting to ramp up its production, I think we're just fine. We're just fine and dandy. And I think that the real money is in finding something else now. And in getting that decline down to being able to get drills down, so that we can do, think of the fan drilling when you're already 500 meters down, you're through the cover, and you're just able to infill straight through the link zone. We might have 5 or 6 or 10 drills per announcement, whereas we'll probably have 1 or 2 tonight.
Yeah, and that's the big question, isn't it? Is what's coming tonight. I mean, the drills don't seem to have moved very much recently. We look at probably 5 to 6 again, or 5 to 7. I don't know, maybe 10 most. I actually can't remember what was missing out of those last.
For some reason, I think 8. But hold on, let me jump on my computer over here and get on to.
So if I look at the investor relations page on the Greatland website, and JORC reports, because that's just going to be a lot quicker, 8th of September, just pulling up the JORC report now for you all. I do hope I'm coming through loud and clear. I'm trying to minimise my bandwidth.
Thankfully, I can hear you all fine, but...
He says as he tries to open a PDF, because that's a sensible thing to do, isn't it? Here we go. So let me just try and see if this works, because we're going to have to try and do it anyway. So share window, Chrome tab, that one. So,
yeah, reports, GGP website.
What I'm looking for is the part that says we've got 6 drills outstanding. It's 6 drills doing growth at the moment.
So I think, let's see who finds it first.
Oh, actually, it says a total of 11 holes have been completed with assay results pending. That's all it says.
11.
Well, it just says a total of 11 holes have been completed with assay results pending. So it's possible there could be 11 holes.
It's right at the bottom, and actually look at the drill logs to get what's pending.
Oh, 156, 157, 158, 159, 160, and North 2. Well, that could be a fun one to turn up, couldn't it?
Indeed.
And we also have 145
There's a few
wedge.
there.
There's a few wedges. Had 98 is also pending, as is 86 wedge 6 and 55 wedges 10 and 11. Oh, there were no significant results. So that's pretty cool.
That is, so there's a few. There's a few, and I'm assuming, as this is the Newcrest announcement, it'll include which have already been reported that we know. As in 6 weeks ago from Greatland.
Hey, look, it seems to be working. Folks should be able to see. Folks should be able to see this screen share. That's all right. That worked. So hopefully you can still see me.
Liam Gallagher then. Both have more
You-
hair, I'm aware. It's nice to see a few more new people commenting today as well. There's a few that not regulars, but there's Stuart on helium. Thanks, Batters.
We've got Mr. Anderson in the chat. We've got Luke 1066. Gary, good evening. Costa, good evening. Andy C, good evening. Dipsard, he's in as always. Minty Eastender, who I have to say, Stu, Minty Eastender this week became a granddad. We should give that a round of applause.
Yeah, that's worth a cheers. That's worth a big cheers. And we met him, didn't we, at the town hall?
I can't remember.
I think we did.
I remember meeting this weird South African guy, and there was this guy from the Midlands that I met.
It's strange. We had quite a bit of time, yet it felt like none at all. I was quite flustered and rushed towards the end of the day. I'd planned to be there for much earlier, and work took a turn for the worse just before. So I think I made it down far later than I'd expected, and I wasn't drinking, which is unusual for me.
It was crazy to meet sober Stu. That blew my mind.
Yeah.
Boy Mace, Brian Doherty, Choddy is in the room this evening. He says, unlucky against my team, Stu, with a big smiley face. JW says, good evening, and Ian Fletcher is also in the room this evening. We're still waiting for these announcements
I can
to
see
appear.
the chat. I've clicked on it.
You need to go to youtube.com
I got you. All right.
/GGPHelp.
All right. I'll go there on my other 5 screens. Let me show you.
Whereas I'm just working on one today like an animal. So yeah, if you just joined us, hello, welcome to me on my holiday. I'm in the holiday beach bungalow down on the southwest of the UK, and I'm on the world's dodgiest internet connection with one single screen, whereas Stu has 5 screens and 2 bottles of wine with him.
Yeah, no. Oh look, you're the first that comes up on my YouTube GGP search. How do I find you live?
And as you can see, I've been swimming today because my hair's still fluffy. Fluffy hair is back. L2 Andy's in the house. Josh Shepherd, Ian Richardson, David George, good evening. Mr. Fletcher, where are you in the southwest? I am in a little place called Breen, which is just to the west of Weston-super-Mare. Cheers from Grandad with a nice big crying emoji from Minty Eastender. And Gary says, good to have on L2 Andy. Oh, Rupra. I know that name. Nice to put a name to a name. And Costa Mooney would like to know, are you on your second bottle yet? He's actually on his third.
Well, you're right. I am on my third. I had the fortunate pleasure of not being able to drink first.
If you've just joined us, Stu's already dropped 2 bottles of wine on the floor, and he's currently drinking the third.
Which usually happens after I've drunk in the 2, then I drop the other 2. Dropping 2 first was a little unusual this evening.
And James N.I. would like to know, where is Anya tonight? That's a bit of a private joke. I don't know if you know who Anya is, Stu, but if you follow Anya on Twitter, she would boost your morale. Apparently she's very heavily into stocks and shares and sharing her lifestyle.
What sort of lifestyle are we talking?
Oh, she drives like fast cars. She likes to cook food. She's you just have to look her up, mate. I can't. I really shouldn't comment. So, what's the format for tonight, gents? Well, first of all, is hopefully keep our internet connections alive. That's my first and foremost mission. And we're just waiting for the news to drop. Now it's gone 10 o'clock, so it's gone.
I'm on the ASX, but
yeah, it's gone 8 o'clock in the morning, and the first of the market news has started to drop. So we should see something over the next half an hour. Now, going back to our town hall meeting, just wonder if you want to make a comment about the 3 new directors. And I can't make any. I can't lie to you, Stu. I was quite distressed at the time, because every time I've seen things like this happen to me before, it's me that gets screwed in different formats. And I'm suitably impressed. But I've been suitably impressed to listen to the managing director of this company talking about these people. But just wondered, while I go and make myself a second cup of tea, because I'm on holiday cups, which are just like terrible. I'm going to go and make myself a second cup. If you want to tell everybody about Mr. Mark Barnaba and how he sat down with our managing director and maybe a few other bits and bobs of what you recall.
Sure. Well, I think
I'm still listening, by the way.
Yeah, I can't sing short phrases enough. But many have said meeting the man in person is obviously far more impressive, frankly, than you can get to see on these scripted sometimes interviews. He lets a lot more go. It was brilliant to be there, to meet so many people. And I think most people knew that he was black stuff in advance. He was strategic in working with people. But he had a meeting with Mark Barnaba, I think it was November 2020, he said, and he asked him to come across, and his first reaction was no, sorry, so he didn't actually elaborate too much other than to tell us that the first answer was no, thank you. He then managed to have a coffee with him and convince him, and I think the reality that dawned on me then was that it wasn't in any way Sean that had convinced him. It was almost certainly the actor, and that just that's always rings true for me, and you can see it rings true for Sean. The superlatives can't go any higher. These things take time, 10, 20, 15, maybe even 20 years to even realize the full potential of what's being found. And that's only realized by a very small amount of mining investors like ourselves until the cash is rolling in and it becomes sometimes a government changing or a country changing deposit. That's sometimes what a tier 1 is referred to. It's, it really is something that doesn't come along very often. That is very clear when you meet Sean. That is not lost on him. It's not only a launch asset, but it's a total career builder. You can see that he's so pleased to have got this job, and you can also almost see from his body language that he knew he was about to proceed over a very big share price drop. He probably looked at those 25p options and thought, oh, for fuck's sake, you know. I think it was clear to him, because obviously, as he's explained since, that there was 3 million in the bank when he joined, and no clear pathway. It was all relying on this magical 5% that was going to fund this huge underground market, which I don't know. I was naive about. I thought it might fund that. I didn't. I thought the numbers we were talking about could at least be arrived to on an inferred basis much earlier than they were, and then you had the PFS come out at 1.4, and you're going, holy shit, somebody's got to actually base the 5% on that? That was a curveball for me. I think it was for most investors. It wasn't for you, Liam. The 5% was always, and that was maybe where we led ourselves down the garden path on all these chat groups, just thinking that the intention must have been for a free carry to production. And as this thing's got bigger and bigger and bigger, we collectively, certainly not me, have recognized that there's been a value disconnect, and that Newcrest have put on the brakes to report on what's an actual resource, what's inferred, what's indicated, and ultimately looking at the Bellman Code and delving much deeper into mining investing, which was a journey we all went on. There's some great research by Dick, for a shout out there. He was amazing in his research in the Bellman Code. And you suddenly realize, holy shit, this is the code. They can absolutely lowball us here. The 5% isn't going to get any bit close to production, but that doesn't matter. The reason it's not getting close to paying the capex is because it's growing too fucking big.
That's all right.
If it's growing too big, that's a nice problem to have. And now we've got an extra 5% of that because of Sean's working. So in the long answer to your question, now that you have a hot cup of tea, he was most impressive. I didn't even feel the need to try and engage one-to-one. I obviously asked a few questions as always, but yeah, I'm all in, and I'm as happy as anything still, if not more so now, because you're seeing the changing of the guard with the institutional investors, a huge underpinning. Being fully funded is everything. I was SXS investor, I was UKOG investor. Pretty much everything I've touched has never got anywhere close to funding. This is now it. And the macro doesn't help, but it's a wonderful bottom to bounce off. And we're there.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the guys, Stu, were just saying in chat that you're a little quiet. Is there any chance you can get a little bit closer to your microphone? I think the echo cancellation that you've got turned on might be playing up a little bit.
Oh, how do I take that off?
Probably can't while we're live. You might just have to get a little closer. I keep playing with my fluffy hair. I keep seeing my fluffy hair in the. I've been swimming today with the kids in the pool with the slides and stuff, like running around like an absolute donkey, and all my hair's just. Anyway, I've been refreshing the screen, and they've started to flow through now.
Option not exercised, Costa says, and yeah, 100%. I mean, I think. Do you know what that did for me? That pretty much signaled for me that I was still a baby investor, because if you had asked me, and I think many people did, whether that was even really a non-zero possibility, gosh, I would have given it very close to, I would have. I'm so glad no one took me a bet on that. You would have got hundreds and hundreds of pounds off me if you'd said that there's even a possibility these guys won't take the 5%, because I didn't see the chess game at hand. And SD did, and that's where, as an investor, you've got to realize how little you know, how much he knows, why he took this job, and you've got to give him the time. And I'm sorry to say that with obviously shorter term investors or people with horrible averages, he's signposted it. He said, give us 3 years. That was pretty much, he broke it up into 18-month periods, but he essentially said, 3 years initially, and then in 3 years period from there. And that's hard to hear, but the whole market's gone through the same reality with the easy money and the no longer easy money, and everyone's suddenly, liquidated and taking what's left. But what's left is a company in our situation that's incredibly healthy, fully funded for what potentially could have a paying asset for 20, 30 years. I mean, that's not what's left for the Bitcoin miners. It's not what's left for the retail one-timers like Made.com and so on. So I think that's where I'm still taking a lot of comfort. You know, we're invested in gold and copper as commodities for the future and for store of value. But this asset is now going to be mined, that it's fully funded. This is a new company. We've got the exploration arm to sit there next year and get all excited about, but we're still going to treat it as dust, hopefully, for most people, because it's lovely to get excited, but it's like buying a lottery ticket. It's exciting to think about what you could win until you win it.
I hope on that though, that actually a lot of seasoned investors, and by seasoned I mean they've been with us now for a couple of years and they've seen the 37p of Scally and they understand the process now, that actually it will be a lot more, I don't want to say subdued, but a little bit more respectful of the process, in as much as it's going to take time, but know that it's going to play out, especially when it comes to Ernest Giles. I mean, you only had to listen to anybody at that town hall meeting, and people asked him at least 3 or 4 times what they thought about Ernest Giles, and his exact words were, "It's a ripper." And I've just seen Wendy Ward pop up in the chat, so it's good to meet her as well. So hi Wendy, pleased to see you again. But he's so excited about Ernest Giles, and that's his next.
I mean, that's what I invested for, you know, way back in 2017. You know, that was it. It was Ernest Giles. We were all excited, but it's a vast area. You know, what's it, 245 square kilometers? I mean, shit. I live in London. I'm pretty sure it's not that big.
Well, there's a graphic, isn't there, that shows it as being as it's not as big as London, but it's certainly as long as London. You know what I mean? Like from north to south, it's bigger than London. It's huge. So we've got some free drills to be done as soon as the stuff's sorted. Sean was very clear.
Not a lot of this is a paradigm shift, because no juniors really have an income stream as strong as we're expecting to have, which only
not at all.
And not gets weaker and depletes, ramps up over time. You know, that's, if you have the right land package, that's a manna from heaven. You don't have to keep diluting your shareholders and going to the market and placing after placing. That's how every other explorer starts and usually dies. They just dilute, raise and raise until no one will lend them any more money, and until they haven't hit something and they start again. Or they're like Powell and they issue 12 RNSs a day and hope to God that some sentiment moves the market.
Yes,
it's a different company, but what I love is we haven't lost our roots. We have all of that land package and potentially funding to really explore it. We're not wildcatting like we were Ernest Giles originally. When Newmont walked, it was an 80% drop in a day. I still don't think I recall seeing any share on AIM in the mining sector dropping 80% in a day. That was devastating, especially for me, because I bought in at 2.2p the day before. I bought in the game, topped up heavily, and then they walked. That was it. What I remember is the research I'd done on Ernest Giles that had got me putting in so much money at that stage, and it's just totally overshadowed by a variant. Now we don't have that one shot at a drill like we had back there. We had one shot, that was it. If you missed the 245 square kilometer area, you probably couldn't go back anytime soon. So I think this is it's a totally different company. And I think, unfortunately, it is a long-term company. You're going to get the spikes. If you're here short-term or you want to get close to your average, you're going to have to sell those spikes. It's the same as any other exploration company. If you find an exploration company has a big drill hole you happen to be in before, brilliant, ride it for as long as you can. But you have to sell. Companies on AIM, you have to sell. There's almost no companies on AIM you can just sit for a 10-year period, whether it's Boohoo, Fever Tree, Great and Gold, any other of the massive ones that have done well. You couldn't have just sat the entire time. You wouldn't have done anywhere near as well as you will have if you sell on the way up. And I think that we've had that, just as Boohoo, Fever Tree, everyone else has had that big initial spike, which is not only the Son curve, by the way, it's also the curve of a normal bull market and human behavior that goes through that process. You can search the human psychology in the stock market, and you'll find that it's on curve. It's not that dissimilar. Despair, panic, capitulation, and then hope, and it goes back up the other side of the curve. So, I think the difference is what we're left with. If you rode it right the way up and right the way back down, that sucks. It's horrible. I did most of the way. I started buying back in at 22p. I managed to sell scally, but either way, I'm 60% down like everybody else, or worse. But I think what you're left with here in this market circumstance with this share register is vastly different to a year ago. The price, unfortunately, is as well. But this is a different investment now.
It is. Now, listen, I can't say this enough, and I keep looking into the wrong camera because one's being in the microphone. If Sean comes back again for a town hall and you can try and make it, you have to go and make it, because you will learn so much. You will meet people that you never met, and it's so amazing to shake people's hands and meet them for real. And to see Sean, meet Sean, shake his hand and listen to him talk about his projects, it instilled so much confidence in me, and I was confident about it at the time. So please, if the town hall comes up, go, because it really is worth the effort to see how your invested money, and you're investing in Sean at the end of the day, aren't you? I mean, at the end of the day, he's leading this company and he's led it very, very well. I think we're all agreeing in that. So I just wondered, and I did have a question for you. There's a few people in comments.
But I can't see too much.
No, there's a few people in the chat talking about my hair. Yes, my hair is real.
Amari's like, give me or fuck me, Stuart sozzled. Yeah, man. I'm on a 1.5, 6 glasses. I mean, yeah, that's a good start.
Andrew W, and this is really important actually. Andrew W says, "Hi guys, sorry I'm late. I'm still at 24p and sat it out. Not been on every day because it was draining me." And I get that 100%.
Oh,
and so many people will appreciate that, because it is draining to sit and watch it. And I have to say, over the last few weeks, I couldn't tell you what the share price is. Even before I went away on holiday, I wasn't even looking at the share price.
That's beautiful to hear, mate, because I think for most people, it's very, very hard to switch that off. I haven't been able to since 2017. Dip's actually been a great, as always, he's been so balanced in some of his comments. It really is. It's tough going, man. I think a lot of us, especially those early in, have brought people into this share. From whether it be my work colleagues, my family members, my friends, and not all of them. You realize very quickly in your investing journey that investing is hugely personal. People's money is hugely personal to them, and narratives and stories and whatever else are blown away when you hear sad news like we did here today, and all sorts of different things. Who really cares about GGP when real life is going on? And unfortunately, over any extended period of time, real life happens to friends and family, doesn't it? And that's probably been a big lesson for me personally. You just stay away from investing advice, investing discussions, anything to do with actually putting money anywhere when it comes to talking to people you care about, because that's such a personal decision. Unless you've got it from somebody who's rigged a horse race, and by the way, don't bet on those either. There's just no point. You can make the decision yourself from the information you gather yourself, or the people who trust you gather that information.
Yeah. Jamie Harris, good evening, Jamie. Welcome to the show. He's just asked where his magic trades. He's actually deeper than knee deep into his final stages of his PhD, and I didn't actually even ask him on tonight because I know he's been so busy. He's been on field trips and he's been doing so much stuff that I just didn't want to add the pressure to him. So once his PhD is finished and before he goes off into the real world to get some work. Ouch! Sorry, someone's just pinged me on Telegram and it's gone really loud in my ears. As soon as he's done with his PhD, we're gonna get him back on and I think he wants to help. He wants to make some more. You know, like, do you remember those couple of shows that he did by himself, where he talked us through all the geology and stuff, Stu?
It was brilliant. I mean, I think that's where this investing journey became real for me. You know, in the early days, there was Investor Someone on YouTube who did a good deep dive and a bit of, you know, extrapolation on a spreadsheet as to what things could mean at certain points, and I thought, oh, hold on, this really could grow into something. And then you had Magic Trades talking about a subject that I failed miserably at school, left in Standard 8, which is our equivalent of grade 10, I think, here. And thought I would had no interest in whatsoever, and I was spellbound learning about the Yilgarn Kraken and all of these different, you know, metasedimentary, you know, chemicals, and just I was just, wow, I am interested. I'm bloody interested in this stuff, and that's where these groups come along, right? That's where Paddy started with the, you know, with the satellite imagery, which he must have found online, I suppose, and shared it with all of us. Had a really good, you know, really good understanding of figuring it out. We've had Stuart, obviously, who's picked up that mix well on our chat and done a brilliant job. It's real. Tell me what other, you know, okay, UKOG was a little bit like that. You had people physically outside the place where they were drilling in the Weald. And reporting back on chat with photos. But outside of that, show me another share where you have a community that uses resources like we do, whether it's people on LinkedIn that get photos from sites, people that have inside information on the decline, you know, people that know the drill results 6 weeks before they're going to even be 6 weeks, 3 months before they're going to be printed, and have developed an aptitude to interpret those, to say, oh, look, we've got one out here, we've got one out here, this is just a pad, this is a sump, this is a diamond drill, this is an RC drill. This is ridiculous information for a standard PI investing on an AIM share, wouldn't you agree?
No, absolutely. I mean, to see a little black splodge in the desert, and then someone turn around and say, well, actually, they're drilling the Eastern Breccia with that hole, give it 12 to 18 weeks, and the results turn up, and it's like, see, I told you that. They were drilling 1,000 meters down. It's fantastic. It really is. And then you go ahead, Stuart, and you've had, obviously, the Stag Gang have been meeting up numerous times and they know each other, but you've got the Stroud group that meet, you've got the Sterling group that meet, and they all know each other. I'm going to Scotland next year. I will be going to a Sterling meetup, and I really can't wait to get up there and meet the folks up there. So it's just, you know, and you've got the LSE community, you've got the GGP chat community, and stuff that goes on there. You've got our Telegram group, and as much as we do have our struggles, and we have our bickering, and we have our people that annoy us and stuff, and that's life, though, isn't it? And
allow us more macro. Come on, allow us more macro, Bottle. Come on, you can do it. Allow us more macro. I'm not talking about hydro/jack/hydro/jack. I'm talking about. I quite like the stuff Michael. I guess I agree in so much as if you just watch Kit Cudi, a very unbalanced opinion, you know, towards Bitcoin and gold in the main. But I do love a bit of macro. But I apologise, because there is a place that you've created for macro, and so
it's hard. It's hard though, because
some people just want to go one place.
I do agree that there is this, that you can't just draw a line on gold, and there is so much more to it. But you could spend 3 days talking about the macro and still not get to the bottom of what's actually going on, and you've missed with GGP, and it's kind of a waste. So I do get that too.
I think it's probably in these quiet times, it's more difficult, isn't it?
Maybe we need a macro Telegram chat. I don't know.
Do you know what? If anyone can make sense of the goddamn macro, then, you know, DM me.
I'll tell you what. If you've made sense of the macro, you've won.
You know what I mean? Is it?
Do you know what I like?
pivot? Is it a Fed pause? Is it a double 0.75? Is it a Santa rally followed by the worst depression we've ever seen? Is it don't worry, 2023 is going to be all up? Is it don't worry, just hang on for another year and the Bitcoin halving is going to change all of our fortunes? I mean, shitballs. Who knows? What I do know is that gold doesn't give a shit. Over time, it's still in every culture that exists throughout the world, and culture doesn't disappear. Culture does undulate, but it doesn't disappear.
It's funny because whilst I might not actually discuss the macro in public, I am very much aware of what's going on, and I do my own research and I watch my own channels and stuff. And it's not that I've got my head buried in the sand, and I think it would be wrong to assume that everybody's got their heads buried in the sand just because they're not talking about it. But what gets me is all of a sudden the new phrase that I've learned this week is dovish. Now, what the feck dovish means, I have absolutely no idea. But this month,
because I know the opposite is hawkish, but I'm thinking there's nothing that obvious that springs to mind. There's releasing a dove, and there's a hawk killing the fuck out of that dove. Those are kind of the two scenarios that are raised by those 2 points of view, which they obviously don't mean. But yeah, hawkish and dovish is Fed speak, isn't it? It's things are either good or bad.
yeah, absolutely, and
been good, but that's all you need.
All the market is waiting for is for the Federal Reserve to change their tune. They don't even have to stop interest rate, like change and go down or whatever. They just have to change their tune, and the minute they change their tune, the market will react.
I think the difficulty is
they can't keep putting it up.
They can technically, but I think the difficulty is I don't know. I love Gareth Soloway. I don't agree with all of his predictions, but I have followed him over the last 3-4 years, and I do love him, and I think he's right. I think what they've done is it's not about raising them to where they need to be. They could go all the way up to 5, 6, 7, whatever the case is. They think that they're seeing the results of those raises in the market, and they're not. The results of some of those first raises haven't even filtered through because of the other supply-demand dynamics and the other thing that I think the war and everything that's going on in the world. I think that's the key. Is the inflation prints high and they go, right, we need another 75, right, we need another 75, all same, the same here in England. It hasn't even hit the market yet. Those people are still living. The people who've lost their jobs are still living off their savings. That's for me is the key. That I think when it does hit, just like everything with the Fed, they're going to overshoot the mark drastically. Just like transitory became non-transitory and became very sticky, and now it's potentially entrenched, with sticky wage growth, which has to. I don't know about you. I don't know about anybody else on the chat, but I'm asking for a bloody increase. I'm not standing still going backwards 10%. I'm going to stop formally put it in writing today. I need a 10% increase. That's what I asked for. To be fair, our company had actually given us, they gave us all £3,000 right the way down. I thought they basically, trumped Liz Truss. We went on a the same for everyone, but on percentage terms. Our company did the opposite. They gave $3,000 to everyone. So people on 20 grand had a really nice bump, and people on 100 grand had a much less of a bump. But either way, we're noticing that cost of living squeeze no matter who you are. I get an overdraft ping from my wife. I got paid yesterday. I had an overdraft ping from the joint account today, and I went, "What's going on?" And it's the electricity bill and the other thing, the buffer that we thought we've had for months that's no longer there.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, and it's Nan that I feel sorry for. Is little old Ada who's sat in a house living off of her pension, and is just going to get screwed and screwed and screwed and screwed and screwed. So
retirees, yours, I'm sure many people are. That's the scary position, A lot of I'm 42. I work hard. I totally and utterly gamble in my share life, and I'm happy with that. If I lose it, by 45, 46, 47, 50, I'll have to start being less risky. And as you get older, hopefully I'll have enough to take risks with a portion of my pension that I'm happy to take risk with, and there's a safer portion. But the question has become really, what is the safer portion? And that is not a question many people have had to ask themselves. The older generation was used to the magic of compound interest, the seventh wonder of the world, which frankly is. Then that disappeared in this low rate environment for a decade. And you're left with people who've already retired and planned their lives for the next 10, 20, 30, whatever years it might be. Gosh, God forbid, some of those who thought they'd absolutely cracked it and retired at 40, they've been retired for 15 years, they're 55 now, and they're going, whoa, hold on, I took all the safe bets. My pension's involved in bonds, and the UK has been a great example of how levered the general major markets are. I mean, I work for an insurance company. That's the most safest people, and we've had internal rumblings about not great positions on investment income. So it really is. It's a house of cards, and if you really want to go deep, you've got to look at CBDCs, and you've got to look at the best possible conditions a CBDC could be launched into our civil society. And those conditions, in my opinion, are under duress, because there's no pros to CBDCs, there's only cons. And I don't think the general population is just going to agree to take up a CBDC. But I think in a dire depression economic situation where the government's handing out helicopter money, and the only way you can get that money is by signing up for a wallet and handing over your data, well, in that situation, I think a CBDC does really well. And I know that's conspiracy theory, and I know a lot of people are probably going to shake their heads, oh, for God's sake. But wow, it feels to me this great reset is happening in very slow motion right now.
Right, the quarterly report is out.
Yes, boys.
First of all, you need to say what a CBDC is.
Sorry,
and
central digital currency.
Now you have to realise, everybody, that the first announcement is the quarterly report, not the exploration report, which is what we're waiting for.
Indeed.
So it's not loaded on my end, so I'm just going to wait a minute.
Right, I'll open the, oh no, not found URL for the moment myself.
So we'll give it a minute.
Search for Havarian.
Yeah.
It's not opening at the moment, so. 19 pages of 404. But Liam is 100%.
So those of you that saw me do a little dance, my eldest daughter came in to top up her own drinking beverage.
Well, someone's in.
Glass.
Nitram says Havarian feasibility study to be extended, allowing further time to maximize project value.
Oh, there's a...
Interesting. Nitram's put up a report. I still can't get in. There we go, I'm in. Right, let's have a look.
So just completely went silent then, which is not cool. Now Natram's actually posted the PDF straight into Telegram, which is most helpful. So I'm going to try and load that and kill my internet connection at the same time. I could do the exploration report when that comes through as well, please.
Quarterly report, we've got strong drill results from Bruce Jack, Red Chris and Havarian expand the high-grade mineralization and support the potential for resource growth. Lovely words we're used to hearing about. Next Havarian mention is we continue to make great progress on our Bruce Jack transformation program and remain relentlessly focused on our disciplined capital management as we extend the Havarian feasibility study to allow time for further project optimization. Now, I really don't know what that means, but if you're going to guess at that, it means we're pushing into next year, doesn't it? Let's have a look.
Yeah, it is. The exploration report's now out as well.
Brilliant.
and everyone's jumping up and down. 916 meters on the decline is being reported.
Hey, not quite the 1,000 we'd hope, but it's moving.
That's as of the 12th of October. So, at what, even 5 meters a day, we've moved on a good 12 days since then.
Yeah, so feasibility study, it will be extended beyond the December 2022 quarter to allow for further time to maximize value and de-risk the project.
Right, I'm just waiting for this to load up, and I will share my screen with you all, and we will talk this through. Here we go, quarterly exploration report, share screen. I'll share a Chrome tab. I think it is that one.
Look, I think that's encouraging. Well, so they're still saying
Hopefully.
the decline continues to be constrained by geotechnical and hydrological conditions. Now we know there's aquifers all the way down, so it's going again the decline's going to undulate. Every time there's an aquifer, it's going to slow down.
Can I read to you, Stu?
What's that? Sorry.
Can I read to you the good stuff?
Let's do it. Oh, you're on the exploration report already. All right, let's go.
Yes, sir. I'm on page 1. At Javieron, growth drilling continues to identify and expand high-grade extensions to the mineralisation in the Eastern Breccia, Southeast Crescent Zone and Northern Breccia, with potential for further incremental resource growth. In the Eastern Breccia, extensions to the southeast of the current mineral resource reported, including HAD 152 Wedge 2, 120 metres at 2.1 grams per tonne gold, and 0.17 copper from 1,724 metres, including a lovely little 20.3 metres at 3.1 grams per tonne and 0.68 copper from 1,781 metres. We've got 152 wedge 3. My daughter's just come in dancing, taking the mickey out of me again. 64.5 at 2.8 grams per tonne. She's going to come past now. She wants to be famous.
0.1% copper. That's significant.
That's not my daughter, that's my sister. There you go. There you go. Yeah. You're live on YouTube. Well done. Sorry? Yeah, I can hear you. I've just gone live. They've all just... My daughter's just realised she's live on YouTube and she's just died of embarrassment. 1,798 metres, including 13.5 metres at 9.8 grams per tonne, including 0.89 copper. That's lovely, isn't it? 1,804.
1.1% copper is just look at those depths. You're going to have to look where those are on the map, but 1.1% copper is a high reading. That really is. 13.5 meters at 9.8 confirms a crescent zone in that Eastern Breccia again.
That's all in the Eastern Breccia. And then I've got 26.7 at 6.4 grams per tonne from 1593. The Northern Breccia, a new zone of high-grade sulfide mineralisation, is now being defined within the 200 metre gap between the Northern Breccia and the Eastern Breccia mineral resource volumes. Results include HAD 98 wedge 3, 15.4 at 12 grams per tonne, and wedge 98, HAD 98 wedge 5, 81 at 3.2, and that's from 1,357 metres, including 53.3 at 3.5 grams per tonne and 0.3% copper. And drilling is ongoing to define the extent of this higher grade zone of mineralisation, which is open to the northwest. I think Newcrest are capitulating on this now.
That's a
this
highlight.
FS is going to be huge.
Didn't BAMS predict this week?
Yeah, he did. The Southeast Crescent drilling continues to demonstrate incremental growth at depth outside the current mineral resource. That sucks. Results include HAD 86 wedge 5 at 39.9 at tonne from 1,400 metres. So these are really deep drills, aren't they? They really have gone deep with these. We've got 110 metres at 1.7 and at the end there, we've got 20.7 metres at 4.4 grams per tonne. And just the last one, 20 metres at 7.6.
I mean, it's just more of the same, but I think that's a new high-grade mineralization in the one area that hasn't had any high grade. So we've not only have we had last few results some high-grade sulfide mineralization in the eastern breccia, we've now got it in the gap between the northern breccia and the southeast crescent. This is just it. It's open everywhere, isn't it? It's open.
It's
everywhere.
crazy, and it's huge as well. The Javieron project. I've gone down, by the way, to page 9. The Javieron project is operated by Newcrest under a joint venture agreement with Greatland Gold. Newcrest is the manager and holds 70% interest in the project. The JVA includes tolling principles reflecting the intention of the parties that, subject to a successful exploration program, feasibility study and positive decision to mine, the resulting joint venture mineralized material will be processed at Telfer. The Javieron project is centered on a deep magnetic anomaly located 45 kilometers east of Telfer in the Patterson province, and the deposit is overlain by more than 420 meters of post-mineral Permian cover. The joint venture commenced drilling in 2019, has completed, wowzers, 269,585 meters of drilling from 327 drill holes to date. Drilling in the quarter has produced over 20,000 meters of drilling from 21 holes with 6 rigs. New SRA results reported from 20 holes, 7 being from previous, and 11 holes returned significant assays in excess of 50 gram meters of gold. That's big, Stu, right?
Mm-hmm.
Growth drilling targeted
real big, and yeah, I mean, it's more of the same, isn't it? More of the brilliant same, which we've got used to.
Growth drilling targeted mineralization definition and continuity continues to show potential for resource additions outside the existing indicated inferred mineral resource limits, including extensions of the eastern breccia, including definition of identified internal higher grade zones, assays for 8 with 3 remaining, awaiting, extensions to the northern breccia at deep depth between current northern breccia resource and the eastern. So that's the link zone, isn't it, that we were talking about last time around, right? I mean, we'll look at the map in a minute and have a look, but that's quite exciting. An extension for the southeast crescent zone at depth below the mineral resource, and there's 5 holes there. Drilling is continuing to target geophysical targets outside of the main system. 3 drill hole results reported and 4 assays from step-out drilling north and south of Javieron. At the eastern breccia, assays for 8 holes targeting strike and depth extensions from previous reported holes have been received, with 3 holes awaiting assays. The eastern breccia developed below the 4,100 RL, which is to do with depth at sea level. I thought I was going to see my mum. Hi, mum. The footprint of over 500 meters in strike, up to 200 meters in width, and over 250 meters in vertical extent.
Brilliant.
That's 500 meters deep,
go down to,
200 meters wide, and over 250 meters in vertical extent. Hey, mum, we found more gold.
And still open.
Brilliant.
And still open. So that's, I mean, 100 meters roughly is the length of a football pitch. So it's 2 football pitches. And this is just the eastern breccia. Within this zone, multiple northwest trending internal higher grade, which is more than 1 gram per tonne, sulfide-dominated domains are observed. The eastern breccia remains open at depth, and the northwest and southwest gunite and southeast. Results for the quarter further highlight geological continuity within the eastern breccia, with results extending in the high-grade zones 170 metres to the southeast of the current eastern breccia mineral resource.
That's huge.
That's another football pitch and 3
meters out, and they're still finding gold.
And none of it is defined by any gravity or magnetic anomaly, is it? It's crazy. And they've given us had 104, 145, 152, and 152 wedge 3. And look how deep, how far along that is.
I mean, 2,000 meters. I mean, we haven't seen many drills over 2,000 meters, have we?
No,
23 meters at 2.5 grams per ton from 2,053 meters. Obviously, these are directional drills, folks. So
yeah,
that's not true depth, because
no,
otherwise that's getting a little bit too deep, to be honest.
it's length, isn't it? It's length. We'll have a look at the map and see how far it goes down. Page 10 now. Northern Brescia, a new zone of high-grade sulfide mineralisation has been defined within the 200-metre gap between the Northern Breccia and Eastern Breccia resource mineral reserve volumes. This new zone, originally intercepted in HAD 93, which was 76.7 at 1.9 grams per tonne, has now been defined over a northwest trending strike length of 100 metres in 3 of the HAD 98 wedges. It remains open to the northwest. Drilling is ongoing to define the extent of this high-grade zone of mineralisation, with potential to provide incremental resource growth. I mean, that is just...
We need to stop there. Just scroll up slightly, because it's obviously significant that it's in a gap. Anything that's filling up gaps now is playing into the fact that this is just absolutely massive. But that's really, really telling, those drill results there. So you've got it's very much what we've been experiencing already. So you've got your 1.9 over 76 meters. That's 150 gram meters there. Not much copper there, fine. Then you've got that including this high-grade zone. Now, what is that reminiscent of? 18.2 meters at 10 grams per ton. It's 180 gram meter intercept. So it's actually within that. It's even bigger than the one it's included in. But that is the crescent sulfide zone again. Does it go all the way around in an ovoid shape, just at varying depths? And this is significant. Again, 92.5 meters at 1.9 grams per ton. Not much copper, but you've still got 200 meters of mineralization there, with not much high-grade intercepts between it. So that is bulk cave all over it, as far as continuation of grade goes. So this is the standout. The Eastern Breccia continues to, from what we hoped, but the Northern Breccia gap fill with the high-grade sulfide zone in it. I mean, this is what we had last time. This is fantastic. Honestly, that is, for me so far, that is a huge highlight.
It is. And then we have the jewel of the crown at the moment, which is the Southeast Crescent. And the growth drilling has continued there during the quarter, targeting high-grade mineralisation at depth below the mineral resource. Results were received from 5 drill holes indicating an extension of crescent-style mineralisation up to 100 metres to the northwest of the current mineral resource. Let me just read that again, Stu.
Yeah, read that again, because this is Newcrest changing their fucking language at long goddamn last.
Results were received from 5 drill holes indicating an extension of crescent-style mineralisation up to 100 metres to the northwest of the current mineral resource.
That's huge.
Additionally, HAD 153 wedge 2 extended crescent-style mineralisation 100 metres to the west in the current southeast on a slightly higher level. And results included that I think we've covered these already. HAD 86.
They're going to have to redig this decline in a minute, I'm telling you. They're going to have to redig the decline and just get Putin to put a nuke on it to get a hole big enough to capture it.
HAD 86 wedge 5, 39.9 metres at 4.6 grams per tonne from 1401. I'm not going to go through all these, I think I already have.
But let's see if there's any standouts there, because again, you've got
20 meters at 7.6.
Basically averaging above 150 gram meters, which does beg the question why we had comment above around 50 gram meters. That's Newcrest saying everything is above 50 gram meters. But look at these drills; most of them are above 100 gram meters. And again, look at that mineralization, including 16 meters at 9.4. Well, what was the new sulfide zone in the northern corridor? Pretty much exactly the same gram meters at exactly the depth. So to me, this is the ovoid crescent sulfide. And just think how little of that purple half semicircle has been considered here. If you're now infilling this link zone, you're infilling the gap fill across. Oh man, this is some of the nicest results we've had in a year, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know what you think, Liam, but so far,
No, this is very positive spin. Testing for system depth extends had 156 successfully intersected mineralization 450 meters below the current mineral resource on the 3400 meter RL, returning 30 meters at 1.5 gram per ton from 2,079 meters. Further analysis is required to confirm if this intercept links up to the southeast crescent or eastern breccia, or if it's a separate zone. But it demonstrates that the Javieron mineralized system has the potential to extend over 1,450 meters from the base of the Permian cover sequence.
That is quite ridiculous. This is a real announcement, guys. Come on, man. I mean, we all obviously, the gift that keeps giving, right? That's probably the best thing that GH will ever be remembered for his comment about we're scratching the surface, and this will be the gift that keeps giving. And you know what, mate? Salute you to that. Cheers, GH, you sneaky bastard.
Drilling to test geophysical targets outside of the known Javieron mineralized system, including evaluating the Javieron dolerite at multiple intervals north and south of Javieron mineralized envelope, revealed no significant intercepts from 3 drills. So they're saying that they haven't found anything in the dolerite, but they have in other spaces, haven't they?
Find anything in, I might add.
No, but that's fine. 3 additional holes are awaiting assays. Ongoing drilling is planned for the eastern breccia, northern breccia, and camp scale targets external to the Javieron mineralized footprint. We shall look at that in a moment. Here come. Oh my good
That's an interesting
God.
comment, isn't it? That's an interesting comment, isn't it? What is a camp style target? That is more than one hole, right? In layman's speak.
Targets.
In layman's speak, that is more than one hole. That is, we're going to go camp out near Artemis, right? Or we're going to go camp out somewhere else, and we're actually going to bring more infrastructure than a fucking ute. So that's quite significant. They found something in those those other drills to be able to say we're going to now focus there and camp style targets.
Now, given the fact that we've started to produce some of our own diagrams, would you look at figure 5? There's a little bit more detail in that, isn't it?
Isn't it just? Look at those green intercepts. Just look at them. They're I mean, those 4 to the sort of right-hand side. 4, as in 5.
Inside that red dotted circle.
Yeah. You can't tell me that these things aren't filling the gaps, right? And I can't quite see on my screen here to get down to see. So we've got HAD 29, 134 meters at 0.81. So that's coming out the side of the southeast crescent. So you've clearly got a lower grade there. You've got HAD 104, 62 meters at 3 grams. So you've got a higher grade there. Then you've got a HAD 104 again wedge at 62.5 meters at 5.9 grams. 62 meters at 5.9 grams. That's over 200. That's over 200 gram meters. It's far outside of that. So I think that southeast crescent is going to get a lot more purple to the right-hand side. You've got.
I think it comes down to how deep it is.
150 meters at 3 grams per ton. 150 meters at 3 grams. This is a 400 gram meter intercept. Look at the length of that. Incredible. The info here is, what's important here really is that dotted blue line right around the outside. They can call all of these things whatever they want. Believe me, those will change. You'll have the northwest pod, which will just become part of the northern breccia, the eastern breccia. That outside line is what to watch, because this is very much looking like anything within it is going to be infilled, right?
Yeah. I'm just loosely measuring my screen. That is now way more than a kilometre from end to end.
And it's open at depth to what? 1,400
Well,
meters below the basement, and we're still getting 1.5 grams per ton, and they don't know if that links up. I mean, this is not just a tier one deposit. This is incredible, guys.
they're gonna have
It's
to they're
there
gonna
if you
have to
can
come
laugh
up with a
at the
new
rest of
term.
life.
Now it says here, this is interesting, Stu, because you made a comment earlier, and they might actually have got themselves some credit back. 3D plan view schematic showing the spatial association of the southeast crescent, northern breccia, northwest pod, eastern breccia, in relation to the current exploration growth target areas and the mineral resource extents. Also highlighted selected, previously reported, and new intercepts greater than 100 gram meters that have been intersected outside of the inferred mineral resource, and they've projected them onto the 4,600 RL. So they have actually made a comment there about the greater than 100 gram meter
I mean, that's just
intercepts.
the intercepts greater than 100 gram meters. I mean,
Whoa.
just look at
I've,
that.
I've now dropped down
Look
to
at, look
page
at where those
12.
drills are. That's what I love is this is so very much growth drilling. This is
Look at
probably
all
the
this down the
best
bottom.
we've had for growth drilling in what, a year, 18 months. There's always been a lot of infill peppered with the odd growth, the odd 1 or 2 drill holes somewhere else. Look at where those green drills are. This is every single one of those intercepts is growth.
That
Outside
is
mineral resource,
amazing.
green. Outside mineral resource, green. Now imagine you'd invested in a new gold exploration company and they'd hit any one of these intercepts. Any one of them. Imagine what you'd be thinking. And that's what we've just done. Every one of these intercepts is outside of mineral resource. Every one of those green bits. Wow. Remember, we're still talking about a fraction of a fraction based on the PFS. The PFS was a fraction of a fraction. We've had a lot of drill results since then, way outside the fraction of a fraction. The fraction still has to catch up, and then we've got all of this to catch up. I mean, it's almost like the slowest moving investment you'll ever have, where value is obvious to those that aren't blind, who can decipher it, but most wouldn't pay attention. This is our edge. This really is our edge, being able to see this in front of us. What a diagram, man.
And again, that's greater than 100 gram meters outside of the mineral resource extents. So this is interesting.
Stuart is going to be absolutely glowing about this tomorrow, guys. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Really
So this is a horizontal slice at 3,900 meters, which we normally see them in the 4,000s. So it's interesting to see that we've still got this purple at those slightly higher depths.
Well, what's that big blob of purple? I recognize the southeast crescent extensions on the bottom, but what's the big blob of purple in the middle? So what intercepts are we getting there? 15.4 meters at 12 grams. So is this northern pod?
No, this is still the middle of it, but it's at a different level to normal. This is at 3,900.
There's a concentration in the middle there, isn't there? But they really, I mean, this is, I'm honestly, I'm more impressed than I have been. Oh, jury. Let's hear.
There's actually not much going on here. The joint venture covers 250 kilometres. There's the interest, blah, 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 blah. It says drilling was completed on the A9 target and the initial hole of a planned 2-hole programme was completed at Tama. Assay results are currently pending. Further work will be focused on the A27 anomaly in the Black Hills region.
I'm just commenting on something on the chat here. Are we having an FS now that's not a fraction of a fraction? but showing a proper value of the drilling outside the PFS. I don't know about you, mate, but unless the drill results are just that good that they can't report them any other way, this is a change in language from Newcrest. This is a much, much more positive result. It's leading you to the growth potential here. I think that they've pulled this PFS to make this a hell of a lot bigger. To maybe redefine the mine plan. This is Newcrest now realize that we're fully funded, and they're now happy to maybe talk about us. Maybe they're happy to sit down and go, do you know what? Let's turn this around and let's release a PFS halfway through next year that's 6 megatons, that's got a second conveyor coming into the northern breccia. I don't know. I'm jumping around to conclusions here. I appreciate that, but anyone who's been on these calls and presentations and seen these results for the last 2 years, these are significant. They really are. They really are. My goodness me. It's all growth drilling, and it's all as good as it's been this entire 2-3 year period. So until this stops, our value just increases incrementally every 6 weeks. It just increases and increases and increases. And to me, Liam, if you get Sean on your channel again, if you don't ask him this question, I'm going to beat you over the head. We need to get it out faster. That's the value. I don't think there's any doubt here that this is 20, maybe even 30 million ounces when all is said and done. That is now no longer our priority as investors. It was our priority when we were on the way up and Scallywag was potential and whatever else. Then it was all about how big this is. This is no longer how big this is. It's high grade and it's massive and it's tier 1. That's all you need to know. We could sit here for another 10 years drilling this thing, or we could get mining it. And we need to get mining it. We need to get mining it quickly. We need to get a second decline down there. We need to get either a shaft, a conveyor decline. We need to move within this next 3 year period, like Sean has telegraphed, into that block cave PFS. And we need to, that is what us as investors, in my opinion, should be focusing on now. Not the size of this thing. It's 20 million ounces plus. We can see it. It's how fast do we get that gold out the ground, and what can that money, that 30% of that money, what can that do for us in exploration until we've...
Well, here's the thing, Stuart. I'm currently showing you page 61. The mineral resource estimate is in black dots. That, my friend, is how you define a fraction of a fraction. Look at the size of the stuff that's below
your cemented
it.
breccia, which is not what we're after. We want the crackle breccia mostly. So the crackle breccia in yellow is the better mineralized portion. So the blue is still a significant portion there. But I mean, just look at it. Just look at how small an amount of the purple is included in there. You've got those 2 extensions going down that don't go anywhere near the other 2 high grade zones we found in the northeast pod and the eastern breccia, and they're still open. It's tiny.
It's crazy.
It's absolutely tiny.
Look at this. There's more there. And that's interesting because you've got the dolerite dike running through that, and they've got this.
That is interesting.
I mean, we've never seen one like that before, have we?
Mm-mm.
It's at 5,000 meters RL.
As a schematic.
Look. That is pittance-y amount of resource estimate.
Also look in the resource estimate circle there. There's not a lot of drills. You can see them very faintly there. I'll count them. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 drills. So just think about your drill density, because you've got 2 going down and 1 through the middle. So you can get your 50-50 or your 100-100 spacing. Now look at the red around it. We're only 5 or 6 intercept drills on the other side to get that sort of infill resource definition. So I think that's going to be interesting to see now after the. I'm glad they've delayed. Guys, delaying the FS is wonderful news. Wonderful news. Because nothing we've heard in this commentary has been around delays with the decline, aquifers that we're hitting, which we know they're going to be hitting along the way anyway. Anything else, it's been about maximizing the value and growing this thing. As far as those comments are concerned from Newcrest, they are all positive. They are finding so much gold here, they're saying, slow down. That's my message here. What are you thinking, Bob?
I do think that they are coming up with a plan B, and that's the reason for it.
I mean, they've signposted relentlessly the December quarter, which gives them still a bit of runway, right? By the way, was the FS for Cadia released tonight? I didn't quite see it.
I've not seen it.
No, I hadn't. I'll go check later. Absolutely fantastic results.
They really are. I think Sean's going to be very happy on Proactive tomorrow. And when I get back off my holiday, I think it's about time he and I sat down and had a chat.
Definitely. And I think you got to say to him, how can we drive the acceleration? There's an elephant in the room here. Come on. There's a 20 million ton plant that's going to be fed with 3 million tons from this world-class high-grade ore body. You know, what am I missing? What are you missing, Liam? What are we missing?
Well, I think what you could see, and this is just pure conjecture at this stage, is a new plan being drawn up right now, this morning and earlier, that has a conveyor or a lift or some kind of contraption that helps get this ore out faster. Because that's the only way Newcrest can unlock value for themselves, really, with everything else they've got going on. To open this thing up will do them the world of good, in my opinion. That's absolutely my opinion.
I just want to comment, there's a new poster that hasn't posted before, because the only slight negative delay in FS is what most will unfortunately take away from this. You're 100%, I'm sorry to say. I don't know why you've got a thumbs up from Torum, of all people, but a delay in the FS with the language used in this report is hugely positive. We've just discovered 2 new high-grade zones. They're all open at depth. We're going to hold off the feasibility study upon which we make a decision to mine. Why would you do that as a CEO of a company if you just found 2 new zones of high-grade mineralization? Why would you do that? To slow things down? No, you'd be saying, hold on, are there other access points here? Do we have another entry into mining this on slots but on a 2-front basis? The delay in the FS, I'm sorry, normally if they just released this in RNS and said the FS is pushed back to 2023, I'd probably would see that as a negative. But I think you've got to look at that in context of the results we've had tonight. And it's very clear to me that is a massive positive. Newcrest language has changed. That we are on board together now. They are now going to start shouting out about Havarian, and they've probably stumbled across the FS and gone, guys, everywhere we drill, we're poking holes in high-grade mineralization pods and link zones. We need to rethink, or maybe even we need to go back to this being an exploration decline. Let's get down there and let's get our drills fanning out, because this mine plan is changing every day with the growth. And yes, that takes longer and it redefines the capex costs, but I don't give a shit if they only start mining in 2 years' time instead of 1 year's time, if it means that they're going from 2 different angles, for example, with a conveyor or with a
imagine if they hit this as and actually start it as a 3 mining front operation. We've talked about 3 mining fronts. Sean said that in the interview with me way back earlier this year, that he sees this as a 3 mining front operation. Maybe they're just going to get after it as soon as they can. You know, by the time you get to 2024, how much deeper will Burncut have got? Because they're not going to stop the decline, are they? At the end of the decline, those boys are going to keep going. They're just going to keep going down, as Bamp keeps talking about, and down to each level. So
Our
I
sheriff
think
makes
there's
a
a
good comment
lot
as
more.
well. He's saying, I wonder if the issues at other sites have pushed Hav further up the pecking order too. I mean, obviously, like all of us, I'm gonna go away. I'm gonna read these in detail. I'll come back with my overall thoughts. But from what we've read tonight,
And that's
correct me if I'm wrong here, Liam, but this is a change in narrative from Newcrest. Yes, the results are
no,
very, but they're always very positive. They're always pretty goddamn positive. There are all sorts of new mentions. This is all 100-gram meters. This is all in the gap zone. This is a change for me. And I think Torum, the sheriff, is right that I think we're realigned. I think this is a very, very, very positive.
I don't see it as a bad thing just because you've decided to take a sensible decision and just delay it, delay something. That's not, there's nothing in that at all.
Well, they've said they're going to delay it for value creation. That's what I want to hear.
I mean,
Are you delaying it because
yeah.
you hit a mining snag? Are you delaying it because you miscalculated, got something wrong? Or are you delaying it because you can't stop finding gold and you think to yourself, do you know what? We might need to revisit the stupid 1.4 million ounce PFS and tear that piece of paper up and start again. And it's going to take us 3 more months. Because guess what?
Yeah.
We can fill 8 million tons of the 20 million ton capacity at Telfer. Because our partners, we've now realized we cannot fuck into oblivion by not giving them any money and not taking up our 5% and shorting them to high hell. They now have guaranteed finance, all said and done. Havarian is being mined with a 30% partner that you are never going to buy out cheaply. And this is what I've read tonight.
And we now have, not only do Greatland now have people on their board that make them sit up and pay attention, but they also have an investor that they're probably pretty freaking scared of.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I think it's... The only thing that gets me is the naivety of me personally, and I'm pretty sure there's a few sheepish people listening too, who've kind of just gone... In hindsight, always looking at the Son curve, looking at what happens, looking at the fact that we really didn't have, like Sean said, he came into the company with 3 million pounds and no clear path to finance, which anyone in SXX or any other goddamn company that's never made it will know. Solo Gold, Solg at the moment, it's the biggest risk. Just think of what he must have thought of our assets to join a company vastly overvalued at the time on the paper valuation, which was massively undercooked by Newcrest. Excuse me, the wine's getting to me now.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it?
That's all I can say. I'm pleased. Whoever's still with us, I'm pleased.
We get criticised for overreacting or being over emotional on the night, and I can't see this any other way, Stu. They're delaying the FS for the only reason why you'd ever want to hear them to do this is for value creation.
Revisit those comments. Here we go. Technical work to support the development of the feasibility study continued during the quarter. While the study remains in progress, it will be extended beyond the December 2020 quarter. Now here's the key point: to allow further time to maximize value and de-risk the project. A further update will be provided as value-enhancing options are assessed. Let me read that once again. Sorry, because I need to read that once again just for myself, right? Development of the exploration decline saw ground conditions improve during September. Right. Technical work to support the development of the feasibility study continued during the quarter. Done. While the study remains in progress, it will be extended. Oh no, everything's falling apart. Hold on, why is it extended? To allow for further time to maximize value and de-risk the project. A further update will be provided as value-enhancing options are assessed. You know what? I think you could loosely interpret that as a potential change in mining plan, either additional declines, additional routes, or maybe they think, fuck slossing this, let's bulk cave the whole damn thing.
Let's just drop it.
I'm not making this up. The words are there, aren't they?
They are there, mate. They are there.
It's all
I,
value
I
enhancing. So I think, I'm reacting to the guy's comment on the chat, who's probably already been jumped on by the rest of the faithful. But this is not bad news. It's very good news. Just like our 5% not being enough to fund our capex cost was good news. We got an extra 5% of the mine out of that. We're no longer GDP of 3 months ago. We are now fully funded to this news went 30% on our balance sheet. Fully funded. I don't care what the market does tomorrow. Do you?
no. I didn't care before the announcement. I care less now.
There's no way about it. It's a wonderful journey. And I'm so glad that we're so involved in this to watch this thing grow, because
And this,
it's going to be culturally goddamn significant, just like Telfer has been for, whole towns were built off some of these mines. This really is, we're involved in something from the UK for most of us, on a whim, probably for most of us too, at high risk, that is going to be around for your children and your grandchildren. That's pretty cool. There's not many companies that have been around that strength of time, and in my opinion, this is 30, 40, 50 years now, as in the resource funds.
yeah.
Not as an investment. I'm not moving from 3 years to 30, 40, 50 years. That's a bit of a jump. Personally, it's going to be a 10 or 20 or maybe 30-year investment for me, yes. But I think you're going to see very nice results over the next 3-year period. I think that's what Sean's asked us to give him, Liam. Am I right? In the meeting.
No, he said 3 years. Give me 3 years.
Came across was this sort of 18-month cycle, and he did finally address block cave when I asked and whatever else, but and it was in 3 years' time, as in he expects a PFS in 3 years, which was begun within 18 months, i.e. around our production time. But you can see, like any long-term strategist, he's thinking in 3-year cycles, and I think so too should most investors.
Yeah.
And this is a new cycle beginning now, underpinned by our funding, I should add.
He has said, and always said, this is a medium to long-term investment.
Yeah, and that's from his point of view, joining at the time he did. And this is hard because we've got mixed investors throughout. We've got my mother-in-law who's 67% down in GGP. You've got me, who was involved from 2P, who's still up, but not nearly as up as I was on those lofty, wonderful heights before Scally. So you got people who've invested at Scally and are all the way down, still holding. You've got an absolute mix. And I think that's the reality check everyone needs to give them for their own individual, personal investing lives, is to realize we've had a reset. If you've held this long, not advice, but my God, if you've held this long, please don't sell now. Unless you need the money, because it would potentially be a very silly thing to do. You have ridden it to what I feel is the bottom. We're fully funded. Regardless of the macro, actually, I think there is now an intrinsic value that underpins our share price. Not that you don't get in a tech stock, don't get in other stocks. It's all about sales revenues, and it's all about growth targets and what have you. This is an amount of gold that continues to grow, that underpins our share price, financed by the 4 biggest banks in the world, with one of the strongest boards in the entire Australian investing community, not just mining community. And you've just seen incredible results, coupled by a very strong change in language by Newcrest. Tell me, if you were reading these words
I'm going to read them again, man. Tell me if you were reading these words when the 5% was still up for grabs. Whilst the study remains in progress, it'll be extended beyond the December 2022 quarter to allow further time to maximize value and de-risk the project. A further update will be provided as value-enhancing options are assessed. That is a change in the existing shitball PFS to say we can do this much smarter. We've got so much more data here. We can access this from multiple fronts. We can do something better than we're doing, right? Otherwise, what the hell does value enhancing mean?
Nope. Can't think otherwise. I just want to address a quick point on the chat on YouTube. Boy Mace says maybe why SD said we're almost fully funded. This is Sean being very, very careful with his choice of words.
Isn't it just?
He's not allowed to say that he is fully funded because the feasibility study hasn't yet been released and put a price on that fully funded figure.
Correct.
So he has to just be careful with what he says. So, but he's not worried, is he? He's not worried about being fully funded.
Do you know what? It raises another point, Liam. I don't know if you got this from the meeting, but at the time, I was a bit like, oh, come on, it's semantics. We're fully funded. You've over-raised by, I don't know, the tune of 100 million Aussie dollars.
Yeah.
And you've got a contingency fund built into the PFS. I mean, Jesus, a lot's got to go wrong. And you're insulated from inflation due to existing Telfer contracts. There's a hell of a lot that goes into thinking, hold on, you've massively over-raised here. How can you not just absolutely categorically say you're fully funded? This is very obvious to me. He knew the feasibility study was going to be delayed. He was aware that actually once we had our funding in place and was signed off, that when there's no longer a misalignment between the two parties, maybe it makes a hell of a lot of sense to say, do you know what? It's not too late to change course and move towards a block cave, or to have a second decline being built, or to go from this point in time and do a conveyor through. You need to recost assess all of these things in the feasibility study, reassess everything from the pre-feasibility study, which we know, looking back in time, was not even a fraction of a fraction. I mean, look at it now. It looks like just a little someone's doodled on our map. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so now again, look at the leadership from this man. He's over-raised by 100 million, and I'm sitting here thinking, oh, he's going to explore the hell out of everything, and he's being uber conservative, and why won't he just say we're fully funded? Well, if Newcrest come out and delay this feasibility study to halfway through next year and change the entire mine plan to bring in 12 megatons instead of 3, the upgraded PFS, I'm not complaining. And Sean will have the money. Actually, he won't if they go that big. He'll have to raise again. But it would have preempted a lot of that extra growth. If Newcrest come in tomorrow and say, you know what, we're going to do a conveyor decline into the northern breccia, he can go, all right, we've got 100 million spare. Let's go.
It's almost like Newcrest have said, so you're this serious about playing this game? And Sean's like, yeah, I am. And they're like, right, okay, then let's do it.
Let's do it.
As together, as partners, let's do this.
Yeah.
And that really should be the takeaway from this.
It's wonderful results today, mate. It really is. I'm uber pleased. What's the chat saying? Someone said, so an SP drop tomorrow. You know what? Who gives a fuck? Just like Max says, of no importance to me, as I would not be selling tomorrow, and that's exactly what we need to hear. Personally, I think this is worth 8.5 at least. You could easily hit 9. If you're an institutional investor, looking at those results, having invested at 8.2p, and we're opening at 8.3p, I think your risk reward's improved. We'll see. Who cares?
Yeah, and I think.
Sorry, you go.
No, I was about to wrap it up, so you go.
I was saying, Andrew says, I still think that NCM thought we would struggle with the receipt from the 5%, and they could snap us up for a lot less. They didn't expect SD to have independently found funding. And I think that's what a lot of us got from the meeting with SD this time round, was none of this was a surprise to Sean. It was a surprise to us as we learned the very varying amount of news through the year, didn't see it coming. He's planned this for a year, knew it all, and had it all in hand. And I think what I didn't appreciate this. I'm embarrassed to say, I'm genuinely embarrassed to say that I did not appreciate that the position we would be in if Newcrest unbelievably decided not to take up a cheap extra 5% of a tier 1 world-class asset. I mean, it boggles the mind. It makes no sense under any circumstances. I mean, I think Sandeep should go. If I was a shareholder of Newcrest and reading these results, I'd just be like, hold on a fucking second. You know, look at those results. You've just declined 60 million for 5% when they offered to buy 5% for 85 million. I'm sorry, this is poor mismanagement by Newcrest, and it's playing beautifully into our hands. We should be grateful for it.
I certainly am, and I certainly will be when I take that bloody big piece of steak and cook it on my barbecue at 28 pence.
Oh, mate, you know what? Speaking of barbecues, I have a funny story. I spent a hell of a lot of money on a barbecue during lockdown.
You did, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. Stunning.
Because there weren't any barbecues in lockdown. They'd all been sold, and I was very late to the party. Well, said barbecue still sits in my wonderful outdoor kitchen, and because of the poor contractors I paid and repaid, after 2.5 years of owning it, it hasn't been switched on once.
No way.
Yeah. It's been installed incorrectly, and the plug doesn't work, the rotisserie doesn't work, the gas connector is wrong, and I've been through about 20 different people, and I still have this barbecue. It started to rust a little bit, actually.
No.
It was the most. It does rotisserie. It's got infrared. It has 12 grill pans. It's got I mean, it literally. It's something out of a movie that I always dreamed maybe one day I'd have, even though it's gas and us South Africans prefer it.
We'll let you off on that.
It's still not operational, so I'd like to think that I'm gonna just wait for you now until we're 25p and you've got your barbecue, and we're gonna have a FaceTime cook-off.
That works for me, my friend. That works for me. Dip's just made a great point on the YouTube chat. You know, you can listen to me and Stu, and we give our opinions exactly as they are. But until Sean speaks tomorrow morning, nothing's confirmed or gospel. That RNS is what drives the news flow tomorrow. So
correct. This is just our interpretation, isn't it? But
it's an early view of two people that are just in love with this company. I think that's fair to say.
And let's see if we're right. Let's see if tomorrow is a slightly more glowing report than we've had for the last sort of interim updates. I have a feeling it will be, only in so much as of a sense that I think he'll stress the fact that the FS has been delayed for value creation, because they can't stop hitting gold outside of the mineral resource. I mean, what it's just, to me, it's logic. It's absolute logic. You know, you're in a company, you've made a plan, you're going to do something, you've got these side things. What are the reason you're doing those side things, i.e. growth drilling? The only reason you're doing the side things, you're really going to mine what you found. Nothing changes your mine plan on the PFS for the FS, unless you want to make it a bit bigger. But
you're now informing and augmenting your understanding from those extra drill holes, all outside the resource, all hitting high-grade mineralization in different pockets all over the place. This needs an ongoing rethink. Excuse me. It snuck up on me, gosh.
Your microphone works then. No, it's gone. I forgot. I was going to say something and then you sneezed in my ear. But it's at 11:30 at night. We've been on air for 2 hours again, and I do thank everybody for tuning in across YouTube and those that are chatting about it on Telegram as well. I really look forward to see what Sean says tomorrow morning, and I will be chasing him up this evening for an interview because I think it's important that we get one. So we'll get some questions sorted and we'll put them to him. Stu should do an impression of Rowley Birkin. No idea who that is.
Neither do I, which is pleasing because I may have tried.
Wendy suggests you go and drink some water.
Oh, hell no, H2O. Hell no, come on. It's juvenile to suggest such a thing. I'd rather just feel sorry for myself in the morning, right?
Okay, remembering how much fun you had and just how good those results are. Now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you very much for watching our show. It's been an absolute pleasure to present to you these results this evening. I'm really excited to find out what's happening. I hope you've all drunk along with Stu. I certainly have. Mark would have absolutely loved these results this evening. So for those that didn't see that earlier, I just wanted to take another moment for Mark because we sadly lost him yesterday. He's a big member of our community, part of the Sterling crew. So thank you, Mark, and rest in peace, sir. But at the same time, we've had a new addition with Minty Eastender being a granddad. So, with all
Isn't that funny?
with all of this.
Throughout my life, when one door closes, another one opens, and it's never truer when it comes to death and birth. Unfortunately, through my life, when I've had a bereavement, it's quite often been closely followed by the news of a newborn, and that's the circle of life, isn't it? And everything runs in cycles, doesn't it? We're in a cycle here, in an investing cycle, but everything runs in cycles. It's been great, Liam. Thank you for, as always, your commitment on holiday, bringing us out. Tearing me away from a Liverpool game mid-game is unheard. Even my wife, as I was walking out the door, said, "Oh, so you don't need to watch every minute." so that might tell you my commitment to GGP and the cause. Thank you, everyone, for the community and for some great results tonight, man. I'm stoked.
I'm excited for tomorrow. It's going to be real good fun to see how this pans out now. So, thank you very much, everybody. I've already said that once. Stu, thank you for this evening. Thank you for giving up your Liverpool game. And I guess we'll be back in 12 weeks when the next quarterly results come out. Now, I think we'll go live when we have... No, well, it'll just be the Greatland ones, won't it? Daytime release. But the feasibility study will garner some attention and probably require a show to sit down and talk about it, and maybe we do it a couple of days after or something just to give our views and stuff, but we'll sort that out.
We're gonna have to have Bamps and Magic trades on for that show. What do you think, Bottle?
That would be epic. It would be really epic to get them both into the room at the same time. I'd love that.
Let's make sure that happens. And you know what, let's get a guest appearance from old Paddy Goal. It's been too long we've allowed him. It's been too long. I think some community pressure might be able to weigh on the situation, right?
Right, do me a favour, just before you leave, give that thumbs up. If you like the results tonight, give that thumbs up button a smash. If you think that the feasibility study being delayed is a good thing, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, and you won't even need to worry about the next time we're on, because the next time we're on, you'll get a notification straight there on your phone or your device that you watch us on. And always leave us a comment, because we like those too. So apart from that, I'm going to hang up this.
It's important, folks, please. There's 252 people watching and there's 14 likes. Come on, 1 second. Put your finger back.
thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. I feel like one of those dodgy shows. Do you remember, like on X Factor, like
Nah, not at all. Not at all.
dodgy. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm hanging up this broadcast, and I will speak to you all very, very soon. Good evening, and take care. See you soon. Bye bye.
Mark.
Good night, Mark.